Okay, my friends, this is Star Wars, Strike Force Shantipole from West End Games, or WEG, depending on how some people like to look at it today. And this is an adventure module that came out in the 80s. It was among the first 6 or 7 modules that came out for the game system, and this one here highlights a then Commander Ackbar before he becomes promoted to Admiral, and the project that he helped spearhead to provide the Rebel Alliance with a heavy strike fighter that we know as the B-Wing. And this is the adventure that they came up with to help bring that iconic Starfighter to the table. And so take a look at things. Adventure. In this adventure, a group of rebels must rescue a high-ranking Alliance officer in a secret project from the embattled asteroid field. Hidden in the Roche Asteroid Field, home of the alien Verpine, lies a secret rebel base. Here, Commander Ackbar oversees the construction of a new starfighter, the two-man B-Wing. As the adventure opens, the project is near completion. The Alliance Command has sent the rebel heroes to retrieve Ackbar and the prototype B-Wings. The Empire knows of their activity, though, and has plans of its own for this new starfighter. Can the rebels rescue Ackbar and his team, the peaceful Verpine, and the prototype starfighters from attacking Imperial forces, then escort them out of the asteroid field without falling to the terrifying power of an Imperial fleet? These are the challenges of Strike Force Shantipole. So you got running an adventure, preparing to play, adventure materials, difficulty, numbers, and game balance, adventure background, recent events. As the GM, difficulty numbers and game balance. As the GM, you must modify this adventure to fit your particular group of players using the difficulty number scale found in the rules upgrade. For example, as the text say the PCs need to make an easy dexterity roll to accomplish a given task, turn to the difficulty number scale in the rule upgrade and assign a number between 6 and 10, depending on the level of the skill of your player characters. Attributes are capitalized and italicized. Skills are only italicized. In addition, the number of templates of PCs in your group affects the outcome of each encounter. This adventure is designed for 6 beginning player characters with a good mix of skills. If you have fewer player characters, you may need to scale down the encounters accordingly. Or what left unsaid is, if you have a more experienced group of player characters that have had some game or other adventures under their belt and they've advanced, you might need to dial up the challenge rating just a hair. That is one of those things that the GMs learn to do or don't learn to do, etc. Episode 1, Into the Roche Asteroid Field. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. These are the dark days for the Alliance. Using new Nebulon B escort frigate and its mighty armaments, the Empire has virtually ended all raids on cargo convoys. Without the spoils from Imperial convoys, rebel supplies become dangerously low. This could spell the end of the rebellion. All is not lost. On a remote base in the Roche Asteroid Field, Commander Ackbar and his team desperately work on to complete a new starfighter capable of neutralizing the Nebulon B. Even now, a team of brave rebels approach the asteroid field under orders to pick up Ackbar, his team, and the starfighter prototypes and return them safely to Alliance High Command. If they fail, the struggle for freedom may now be over. No. TIE Fighter patrol that they encounter using role-playing Starship Combat or using Star Warriors combat system. What happens if they fail and they get captured? Says you will have to improvise the escape attempt or simply inform the players they failed this mission, let them create a new characters and try again. Right? Sometimes the fun is when things go south and go awry and having that opportunity to strike up and do something new and fancy. One can never know until one makes the attempt. That's Frankie. In the background is Frankie, the shelter cat, who's worming her way into the window. Excuse me a second. I think I figured out how to turn my headphones off so you don't hear me making off noises, and we will attempt to. you gotta blow your nose, sometimes you gotta cough, sometimes you need to take a drink. And you try not to get it into the video. And I'm not about to redo the video because of a little thing like that. My apologies if it does come through and you find that a little bit off. Well, it is what it is. Finishing off the TIE Patrol, Outrunner statistics for the freighter that the player characters were provided for, assuming they don't have their own. Description of the Roche Asteroid Field. This is the thing that always kind of tugs at me a little bit, and I've made a few commentary in the past about this, and I seen a video on YouTube not that long ago of somebody who reconstructed the Nebulon, because if you, and I agreed with his assessment, if you look at the way the ones that the Rebel Alliance uses, specifically the one that's modified to be the medical frigate, there's some glaring issues, and we see another version of this frigate in Rogue One with the Rebel fleet, and it gets destroyed quite handily by a Star Destroyer, which, you know, ironic. Ideally, that's going to happen because the Star Destroyer is vastly more upgunned than any frigate should ever be. But if you look at the design, it looks like a lot of chopping has gone on, that they've done heavily modifications. If you look at the Rebels Y-Wing, for example, the original concept from the earlier movies of them in the animated shows shows a much more streamlined, armored Starfighter, and then through necessity and ease of maintenance, the Rebel mechanics have reduced a lot of that and removed it to give it the look that it had in the original movies. So they also claim, and this depends on the stats of which one of these things you look at. According to this one in here, the Nebulon B includes 24 turbo lasers and the equivalent capability of carrying 2 TIE fighter squadrons. But the later versions or earlier versions, depending on the sourcebook you access, that's not. They say that they don't have any internal landing bays, and the only exception is for docking systems on the exterior of the ship along the spine, like we see where the Millennium Falcons dock to them before they. Obviously, you can't carry a ship through jump like that, although they argue that you could carry upwards of a handful of fighters attached, and they would be protected. But I'm of the belief, as that individual was, and I wish now that I had written that video down, and so I could put it in a commentary to give some credit to it and to draw your attention to it, is that that's a lot of pieces missing. That this whole assembly here, just based off of what we see in this piece here, suggests that the spine was much more heavily armored than what we see, and a lot of this stuff in this protrusion down here looks like it's been exposed, so there should be armoring and other components. Potential entire decks have been removed, so if the original the Imperial fleet's design can carry 2 fighter squadrons, 24 TIE fighters, potentially there's bays missing here, and capacity for extra cargo and troops and techs to maintain the fighters, etc., have all been stripped away. And another argument that he made for this being heavily modified, which every now and then you will see that some modified Nebulon B that implies, but it doesn't follow the standard design protocols of the Imperial fleet. Majority of the Imperial fleets have a much more angular and or boxy look to them, and it shows beefier defenses. I mean, any of the Star Destroyer and their predecessors categories apply, the Karak light cruiser, etc., etc., etc. This is a very odd fish amongst the Imperial fleet. Very strange design, very unusual, and it looks incomplete, and I'm 100% in agreement with that. I don't think this is the original concept when it came off out of the shipyards, but that's just my opinion. Alright, so enough for that. Finishing off the patrol, Roche Asteroid Field, Ackbar's command base, the stats and information on the Verpine We follow the signal beacon to an hourglass-shaped asteroid. Points of light penetrate the outer crust, highlighting air vents and repulsor beam projectors. Ship circles a spinning rock. You notice an opening in the asteroid side appears to be a hangar bay, and several figures can be seen moving about within its lighted interior. As you approach, your comm unit cackles to life. Freighter, identify yourself immediately and state your business. Then we talk about the small hangar bay appears functional, efficient. Meeting Selen Gellick. This is one of the bad guys, and he is a Quarren, which ironically a lot of Quarrens seem to be not quite trustworthy and or shady. And this particular character is a Imperial spy or on the Imperial payroll. But they gotta go look at it. Another figure dressed in a simple round tunic and matching cape emerges from the corridor. The figure's head resembles a four-tentacle squid. Focuses attention on Sisquifu and utters three sharp sounds. The Verpian chirps and angry reply, waves his antenna in and quickly exits the chamber. His two companions mimic the farewell and follow behind him. Alien watches the Verpian disappear and then turns to you. Greetings, I am Lieutenant Shantipole Gellick, aide to Commander Ackbar, he says in halting basic. I trust you have a prime reason for jeopardizing the security of this base. So, right off the bat, the PCs are challenged because this individual is going to attempt to get the information which they're part of the PCs. They've been given a data disk from Mon Mothma introducing themselves to Admiral Ackbar and giving Admiral Ackbar his marching orders, so to speak. And if Shantipole Gellick can convince them to hand the data disk over to him, a whole lot of things are about to go south. And even more so if he can convince them that they've achieved their mission, because they don't know the contents of the data disk, to get back on their freighter and bug off. And it covers that in here somewhere. And then we go to the Commander, Rebels refuse. Gellick pimps angry, hissing and screaming, and strained comments to Basic and Quarren. Gellick raves as the PC tries to intimidate them, but he ceases when a scar-faced human appears in the corridor opening. A human named Pollard looks at the pirate, but he's actually never one of Ackbar's lieutenants. Pollard demands to know what's going on. Once he finds out, he calls Ackbar, notifies him of the PC's arrival, escorts the rebels to the command center. So Gellick does his best to get rid of the PCs. First, he inquires the purpose, says they allow him to take any messages to Ackbar personally, as the commander is extremely busy. If the rebels mention the holo-disk, Gellick's tentacles wiggle excitedly. He demands they turn it over immediately. He orders them to comply, and then suggests they completed their mission quickly and be on their way in case their ship is tracked, etc., etc. PCs agree to accompany Pollard. They introduce him to Ackbar, who's, like I said, a commander at that time. And Ackbar leads Joe to a holo projector. Let's see what they brought, my friends. He inserts the disk in the machine. The field disappears, replaced by Mon Mothma. Greetings, old friend. As you predicted, the Nebulon B escort frigates put an end to our ample Earth supply raids. You reported the Shantipole project nears completion. Could not have come at a better time. The rest of this message is for your eyes only, and for the agents who delivered it to you. Please pause the holo-disk until all our personnel have left. Blank. The Alliance fleet is assembling, and bring you and your team and your two prototypes. Trust these player characters, etc., etc. Upon arrival, you will assume the rank of Admiral and organize a mass production system for the new B-Wing. And then we go over here to Shantipole Gellick, Ackbar's Quarren assistant. Given Gellick the disk. If the rebels give Gellick the holo-disk, they have made a terrible mistake. First, they disobeyed their orders and deliver the disk specifically to Ackbar personally. Second, they've handed top secret communique to Imperial spy. If the PCs head back to space aboard Outrunner, just as they prepare to jump to lightspeed, they receive an automated distress signal from the base. The message calling for assistance repeats itself over and over. PCs cannot raise anyone on a base, and you have to proceed from there and try to fix your mistakes. Episode 2, The Empire Strikes. Base goes on alert. When Nothos lost contact with the TIE recon patrol from Episode 1, his instincts told him it's time to strike was now. As usual, Nothos agreed. This is the Imperial flunky in charge. Arrived at Gellick, gives him the prearranged attack signal. Nothos launches a two-pronged attack. The main assault Force targets a research station, Shantipole, where the prototypes are kept. The second assault force, made up of 70 stormtroopers and an assault shuttle, attacks Ackbar's command base. Amid fires, explosions, and deadly stormtroopers, the rebel player characters must fight a desperate, delaying battle to save Ackbar and escape via lifeboat. As the PCs and Ackbar attempt to find Glex, the alarm sounds. Base room descriptions, the layout of the base asteroid, stormtrooper assault, breaking it down by rounds, timetable. If the player characters return to base after falling for Glex deploy, the arriving beginning the combat round 6. So rounds 1 through 5, docking. During the first 5 rounds, the battle shuttle pulls up alongside the hangar bay, lays a boarding tube to the bay, etc. Reading the mood, creating the mood. When running this battle, keep the action moving. Don't give your players a lot of time to analyze their actions. Show them what's going on by putting their characters in your description. Blaster bolts explode near you, showering you with blistering hot sparks. Frightened verplanes scurry by, jostling and hampering your aim in their hurry to escape. Then through the parting clouds of smoke, you see the gleaming white armor of Imperial troops charging your position, and soon you can see nothing but sparkling haze of blaster fire. Running the battle, ending the episode, the escape. Episode 3, the trip to Shantipole. Verpine transport searching for survivors. The Imperial raid picks up the rebels' lifeboat. Once inside transport, Verpine leads the PCs to the ship's bridge. PCs learn both Ackbar's command base and research station have fallen into the Empire. Further, the entire sector is under naval blockade. TIE fighters constantly sweep the asteroid belt in search of Ackbar and his team. The only matter of time before the Empire finds them. Ackbar assesses the situation quickly, formulates a plan. Soon the rebels find themselves flying to research station Shantipole on a desperate mission to recover a combat vessel and destroy the remains of Ackbar's project. During the flight to the captured asteroid, PCs must battle probe droids, navigate through asteroid storms, and elude TIE patrols. The episode ends just as the PCs see Shantipole in the distance. So, section on rescued by the Verpine. Things are Ackbar and Jerfel tell all. Quick note on Verpine ships. Verpine, however you want to pronounce it. Ackbar reveals his plans. Wounded rebels. Ackbar's plan. Calls up a holo-disk asteroid field. The Verpine transport and research station are highlighted to show their relative positions. The image changes, zooming to show a research station. He says you must fly through the asteroid field to Shantipole, get inside undetected, set the main generator to explode. I'll provide you with the detonite timers myself. A 30-minute view should give you a reasonable margin. The generator explodes. It should destroy the entire station and a prototype starfighters along with it. The explosion will be our signal to move the fleet into corridor G147. If you have not secured a combat vessel, begin your distraction maneuvers on the frigate. We shall try to escape anyway, but will be easy targets for the Imperial ship. Good luck, and may the force be with you. So we have traditional adventure script for the players to read out when they first start the campaign. Internal maps, station, command base, research station Shantipole. These are different asteroids if that hasn't become clear. Template or character sheets for Commander Ackbar, Sailing Gallic, Lieutenant Pollard, Siskafu, one of the lead Verpine researchers. Cutaway of the asteroids and key locations. Asteroid hoppers. Strike Force small docking bay in that part of the transport. 6 cubes of detonite, 3 timers, spacesuits for every member of the party, and 4 asteroid hoppers. Any additional requests for supplies can be granted. The journey begins. Encountering a probe droid. Encounter 2 is the asteroid storm, trying to get through it with the TIE fighter chasing a picture of a Verpine asteroid hopper. Next stop is Shantipole. Asteroid Station appears as your heads-up display, slowly rotating it to show you its battered surface. Then the surface cuts away, revealing the interior. I'm afraid, explains Sukafu, that this image being produced from our computer library tapes. It does not show damage sustained by the recent attack. You won't be able to determine the extent of the damage until we're within visual range. Then we have Episode 4, Retake Shantipole. Observing the asteroid, getting inside via the hidden passage, via a damaged hangar, via an airlock, via hangar bay 1, Shantipole defenses. Once inside, descriptions for tunnels, elevators, rec areas, communication center, command center, numerous other locations. Ending the episode. The episode ends when the player characters reach Hangar Bay 1 and are preparing to recover a combat ship. Turn to Episode 5. Episode 5, Battle in Hangar 1. Rebels must assault heavily guarded Hangar Bay 1 to procure a combat vehicle. Visible craft include oversized Imperial shuttle, 4 TIE fighters, and the Moncal freighter. Unseen are the 2 prototype B-wings that are stored in the shuttle's hold for transport to an Imperial facility. Even though the original mission was to take Ackbar's freighter, the PCs can take any ship they want. Before they reach the ships, though, player characters must defeat the stormtrooper stationed here. Episode ends with player characters are flying out of the hangar in 1 or more captured vessels, preferably just seconds before the main generator explodes if they successfully set the detonate. So theoretically, your group is either going to try to find a ship to get off the asteroid, go set the charges, or go set the charges, then get a ship, or split up and do both and meet back together in time to skedaddle before things go south. Explanations: catwalk, oversized shuttle, Imperial shuttle, B-wing prototypes. So both prototypes are already been loaded into the shuttle, the Imperial shuttle. Both craft are in working order. Should be surprised, which is surprised both Suskafu and the player characters, and can be launched from the shuttle in space. They figure this out either by examining the craft or by having one of the Verpine prisoners tell them about it. Stormtroopers on alert. The battle. Sailing Gallic and the Tex tactics, Imperial officer tactics, heavy weapons team tactics, the TIE fighter pilot tactics, Stormtrooper tactics, the breakout. Once the player characters have commandeered the ship and started it up, your ship lurches forward, slipping out the atmosphere shield and into the asteroid field. Back in the hangar bay, 2 more squads of stormtroopers pouring through the tunnel. Some fire at extreme range, but the shots bounce off the ship's hull. Sublight kicks in as the research station disappears behind you. Then an orange explosion rocks your craft, and Shantipole is no more. Episode 6, to run the gauntlet. Verpine shooting gallery. RPG ship. Starship combat, or using Star Warriors combat system. The big conclusion: Star Warrior statistics for the B-wing fighter. So your players have damaged the frigate. 2 set of the direct hits the structure points read. Your last shot explodes along the frigate's engine, causing electric blue sparks to dance over the scarred metal. A rumble tears through the Nebulon B, then its engines go dead. A hail of fire from the ship's laser batteries tell your frigate isn't completely vulnerable. However, you direct your Verpine fleet to prepare to jump. The Lightspeed Ackbar's voice comes over your comm with a loud and clear: "Nice shooting, strike team. We owe you our lives. Now let's get out of here." Our sensors indicate the rest of the blockade is heading this way. Before you engage your own hyperdrives, another voice cuts through the cheers and is cold and menacing: "Savor this victory while you may, rebels. Remember the name of Commander Bane Nothos, for one day I will find you and I will make you pay, and dearly, for what you have done here." If Nothos says more than you do not hear it, or you follow the last Verpine transport into hyperspace. Epilogue: back at the Rebel rendezvous point, injured rebels are treated immediately. Ackbar promoted to Admiral 2 days later at a ceremony presided over by Mon Mothma. Before the ceremony, Ackbar asked the PCs and Suskafu to act as his honor guard. Afterward, Ackbar offers the team commissions as rebel officers. Rewards for rescuing Ackbar, saving the B-wings, and disabling the Nebulon Blade. Give each player 10 skill points. Reduce the number of skill points given by 2 for each part of the mission they failed to accomplish. Feel free to give your players an additional 2 points for exceptional play. At this time, you should also replace any force points spent during the adventure. So, that is Strike Force Shantipole. Very nice and interesting module. I have played this I ran this 6 or 7 times, and have never come up short on finding it interesting. Till next time, my friends, this is the Fat Man saying, game on.